template, and all in the same transaction. So they should work. Sorry. Questions?
Do
Yeah.
you see all of errors of even associates?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, you need a way to then display those errors somehow. So you need a place to store everything.
I just thought you have to make something like campaigns errors and templates errors or something like that. So it's not needed.
We could do that if you want. We could say, for example, like here, a missing name. Or I'm missing everything. And go here, reload this code. It should fail. And this is the errors you get. Okay, they are indexed by the template. If you would have, for example, a has many with several different entities there inside, and just one entity is failing, you will get the index of the entity that is failing. Any other questions? That's funny. Okay. Let's talk about callbacks. We're gonna do a simple example on using a callback in a table. First, there are several places in the tables controllers in basically all the main classes in the framework where you will have callbacks available so you can inject your own logic and slightly modify the way the framework is using or is going to run that operation. There are some callbacks that could even stop the execution of the whole function. For example, if you stop the event in before validate, the save operation will not continue. Okay, all the callbacks have a similar way to work. They pass an event, then the entity, and then an array of options and some other optional parameters, if any. Then for those marked as an asterisk there, if you stop the event, the rest of the save operation will not continue. So you have a way to check extra things before a save operation, and if we don't like what's happening, you can just stop the event and the save operation does not continue. Then there are a couple events, all of them are useful. You have the before find, you have the before marshal. The before marshal event is gonna be executed right before the marshalling of the object. So you have a data array that is coming from a form, for example, and you need to do slight modifications, date modification. I think we discussed the before marshal yesterday. Then we have the before validate and after validate, the before save and after save, and the before delete and after delete. Okay. There is no after find. It was removed from version 2 to version 3. There are many ways you can alter the results coming from a find operation. For example, using format results or using the entity getters, things like that. I'm not going to get into that because that's possibly some other content for the advanced workshop later related with collections as well. I don't know. I possibly think that this is going to be covered. But we're going to do an example using after save and after delete. So let's say we want to log changes in the user's subscriptions. So every time a user subscribes to a mailing list, we want to log it somewhere. Every time a user unsubscribes to a mailing list, we want to log it as well. So we could do this using an after save event. We're going to play with this example, and then you're going to play with another example in case of issues. So the first thing we're going to do in this example is create a new log configuration. We want all the subscriptions logged in a file, subscriptions.log. We're going to create a new log configuration first. First, so we get to our bootstrap .php. If you remember, we have
So is this the bootstrap for the whole application or for the plugin?
no, makes sense to do it for the plugin. Let's do it for the plugin. Yeah. So I think that's a better example either. I think I have that done for the plugin in the repo. Okay, I want to go out from here. So, new file. Let me get out from here some way. Are you kidding me? Well, you never know how to get out of this view. This is possibly a bug. Hey. Okay, no problem. We have the command line for that. Yes, we can do BI too. So, so we're gonna create a file under plugins, newsletter, config, bootstrap.php. We're gonna create here a new log configuration for it, like this. And we are going to configure subscriptions using the file logger. We're gonna write the logs to the same path as the other logs in the application. We're gonna create a scope, subscription, so we can, every time we log things, we can log to a specific scope that will be subscriptions. And we can define the name of the file that will be subscription.log. Okay? So, cool. Now we have a bootstrap here. The next thing we need to do is to ensure this bootstrap file gets loaded. Like this. Ensure that here at the end, when we load the newsletter, remember we had bootstrap false. We need to change this and ensure that the bootstrap is also loaded. Setting it to true, it will look for a bootstrap.php inside the config folder inside the plugin. Like that. So now we can get here to users, edit this user. Okay, well, it's doing nothing, but we have the log configuration created. The next thing would be, after we have a log configuration, we need to create the callback. This is the callback we're gonna create. In this callback, we will check changes on the mailing list users table, and it is not going to work because you already see the question there, but we will continue the example. Okay. Oops. Sorry. So let's write in mailing list users table here, we're going to write a new callback here that is after delete. We need to import some classes. And the log as well. Okay. So, is this right? This is right. And this is not right. We have an entity called log as well, which is possibly not a good idea. So we don't mix it. But we have namespaces after all. So, well, okay. So we have a typo here. Unsubscribed. Is this wrong? Is this a wrong word? Is right? No. Well, doesn't matter. Okay, we have an after delete callback. We're passing an event, the entity, a list of options that we're not going to use. And basically what we do is we get the user associated with this mailing list user. We get the mailing list as well, and we print this message into the subscription log, okay? Scope. Make sense? Okay. This is not going to work. Sorry for not being optimistic here. So if I add here on users, if I add a new mailing list like this, I'm not going to get it run. Because why? Okay. You know the reason? Well, the reason is I'm attaching an after save event to mailing list users, but the association we are using for saving, when we save a user, if you go here to the users table, is not using anything basically. This association belongs to many mailing lists, is not passing through the table class. It just manages the table internally and write the records that it needs. So both tables are linked. Okay, so it will not use the callbacks in the mailing lists users table yet. Okay, the change we need to do here is to ensure that this is going to use the table this way. We can specify a foreign key, and we can specify a class name, but we need to change it and use through. Yeah, belongs to many through. Okay? So now we are doing the same as we did before, but we are letting the framework know, hey, I want to use specifically that class as the entity or the class that uh, associates my mailing lists with my users. And because that class is now being used, also we will be aware that there is an after save event there, and we will run it. Okay.
Is there a reason to do it the other way? Or is there any possible reason to do it with target point key and join table instead of two?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I mean, you're demonstrating now why to use two.
Mhm.
So why not to use it? Is there
Yeah.
any possible way, or should I do it always this way?
Well, if the join table has no meaning for you in your application, it does not make sense to use through. Because the join table, if it is only there to represent an association between two tables, is like something hidden for your business model. You don't need to be, you don't need to be aware of that. And just, you can let that be managed by the framework that belongs to many. If, for example, if you're going to add new information, extra columns to this mailing lists users table, for example, account, for example, the date where the user subscribed or unsubscribed, things like that, then it is good to use through to be able to store that information as well. And also because that entity is important for your business model. It has a sense to have there in your business model. If not, if it is just a join table with the two foreign keys to express this association, I would say using belongs to many makes sense. Yes?
What you're saying now, the mailing list for all the users, so is the callback in the tool, so the one that now didn't work and now it's going to work, is it going to be called as many times as you get these new associations? So for example, let's say, again, like in the some simple example, I have a person who has cars, I had 10 cars, is this after save of the cars going to be called 10 more times?
Yes.
Or only once?
Okay. We can
So
we
for each save per that.
right. We can play with that. Yes, very easily. Look, if we save this and we go to users, yeah, I need an after delete.
You have it.
Oh, is
After save.
is this after delete? I believe in you, so it is.
Making just use the table.
Okay, no problem. This was not intended, but this is what we need now because we have that user with all the mailing lists selected, so it's kind of lucky. So this user here, wow, mailing list user table 26. What happened here? Oh, I deleted something accidentally. Yeah, weird. You should know about that. Okay, so we have all the mailing lists. So if we delete this one and submit, and then go here, we have subscriptions log. If we get the subscriptions log, we get that. Test example was unsubscribed to security. And the example we were talking about was this one. If we do this and this and submit, we get that. Okay, I think that was you were looking for. Okay. Yes? Okay. Cool. So we have 5 minutes before the break. So I will let you write the after save part of it go ahead and write it. So we also log when a user is subscribed to any given mailing list. I will let you the code here. It's very easy, but just to play with the callbacks in case you have any questions or anything like that. We have 5. Yep.
Just curious, would you recommend using callbacks over event listeners? Because in 3x, they're kind of, all of these things are events now. You could just listen with a listener.
Yeah.
Rather than having to implement a method.
Yeah. I try to use this because I think it is easier to explain than the event. We can go through events and maybe, well, no, I know for sure that Jose is going to talk about events later. I just try to keep it like straightforward because, events are super powerful, and also you need to to be careful with the documentation of the event to know when the event is triggered, who triggers the event, and kind of the reasons behind each event, so you don't get or you don't lose control of so many events running in your application and you don't know who's doing what at any given time. I understand everybody using events here had this. This is not a problem this is not a problem introduced by CakePHP. It's just another way to develop an application that is event-based. So you need to be careful with how you do it. But yes, you're right. Instead of using the callbacks, the functions there, we could create an event and a listener for it, and we can register this listener to the after save or after delete event in the model, in the table in this case. So every time that happens, CakePHP will trigger this event, and all the listeners there that are attached to this event will run their logic, modify whatever is being returned, and then return the event back. Okay, this is like the Cake 2 way of working with events in the table. So we can go through it, and then possibly later we will talk a little bit more. Jose will talk a little bit more about events. Thank you for the questions. It's an interesting one. Any other questions? Okay. Go ahead with the example. I'll be around. Just let me know if you have any other questions. We are going to do a quick break, 15 minutes. There is coffee and things there, so go for it. Thank you.